Hello, Erez, and welcome to the show. My name is Luca Berton, and I'm here with my great friend Erez Kirson, and I'm really curious to hear about you. How do you connect with me, first of all?
Oh yeah, first it's a pleasure to be here, and it's always great talking to you. Yeah, and actually it's funny, we met long in the days when we both worked at Red Hat, and you did your Ansible website, Ansible pilot, which is I think it's still an amazing website, and we started to engage from there, and we've been in contact ever since.
Yeah, I remember you always give me some new ideas, and we chat a lot, did we?
Yeah, no, we definitely we chat a lot, and I think both of us we love technologies. We like to see how the world changed, and we like. And I think it's what sparkled it is, hey, technology and the world, how you can mix that together. And think what inspired us a lot. And, working in open source environment in Red Hat, which was a big plus for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. I saw a nice background on your for you. Are you on holiday?
Not exactly holiday, but I think you should find holiday, every day you should find a few hours of holiday, for yourself. That's why, I found a good place for the interview, so I think I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that what connects us is the passion for open source. I know that you are very keen in one specific technology. Um, uh, which one?
So in terms of, I love technology, both of us, we have passion for technology, but I think I saw it from the open source world and Linux, but I see today the word of cloud native Kubernetes made a very big change. And when you add AI solutions on top of Kubernetes, suddenly you have very interesting and appealing solutions. And I think Kubernetes and cloud native is the foundation of many, many new tools. So I think everything that you'll see today will sit in Kubernetes because, hey, it take care of a lot of the abstraction of the system. So this is what I see, today in terms of some of the technologies that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just the other week. I was celebrating the 10th birthday of Kubernetes. It's unbelievable that it was June 2014, and this incredible technology was released to the public. And we went so far on this stuff, especially on the containerization of application. And I can see that the world is moving in this direction more and more, like from, I would say, from a monolith application we move to a lot of like a microservice and this kind of stuff. So I can see that we are moving mm, a lot, especially what propelled by cloud computing technologies. But I'm really interested in understanding a little bit from the early start. Can I give, what is your upbringing, how you started your career and your
Sure. Yeah, it's a very good question. How everybody started. My dream was to be a basketball player. This is my dream. So I was always playing basketball, and for fun, I used to help people with computer problems. And I had a computer. I have a Commodore when I was young, and it was only for games. So I used to play a lot of basketball. Then people called me, "Hey, Erez, I have a problem with my computer. Can you help me fix it?" So I said, "You know what? I can do that." And I started, fixing computers for I think for the whole neighborhood. Because for me, suddenly I love the challenge of, hey, there's a problem. Maybe I can fix it. So for me, it was just fun. I never, I don't think even, I never charged any money for that. I just did it as for me for fun. I solved the problem. People were like, hey, wow, how did you solve it? And my first job was actually in Envision in Israel. It's a service provider. And that's where I was like, wait a minute, how come you send an email and after 1 second, 3 seconds, it's all over to another country? What's going on after the enter? So I was very curious, what's the process? And I learned a lot from the service provider. And then one guy said, hey, listen, there's an operating system called Linux and FreeBSD and open source. Maybe you should try it. And I didn't even know what it is. And I started the journey and I bought some books. The internet was not too much information. I bought a lot of books. And suddenly I was and this was the motivation, and that's how I've kind of started. Suddenly, how does it work? And later, during my career, I touched more and more layers in the enterprise market. I started in storage, a lot of NetApp, IBM storage, and then I grew up to more HPC, Linux, cloud native, Red Hat, and now more in the world of AI. So if I'm summarizing, it was always curiosity and always how does it work? What's behind the scenes? And this is something that still drives me today.
Wow, this is unbelievable. From the Commodore, you were using the tape for loading the software.
Tape in this, yeah.
So it's incredible because for the young people that don't know the Commodore, at the time it doesn't exist like a CD-ROM or floppy disk. You actually running a tape and you are like playing like an audio cassette, and the software is learning. And it's crazy how you jumped from basketball to Commodore and to other technology and beyond. So very interesting upbringing. I didn't know this about you, that you were Michael Jordan.
Well, as you can see, I'm not Michael Jordan, but I think the career in computers was better, and I don't have a thing to side. But I learned a lot, from sport. You can learn a lot of things from sport about dedication, about, if you look today we're in the world of, it's not what you know, it's what you should know 3, 4 months from now, because the technology changes so much that you need to always learn new stuff. And in basketball, the same. You always have new teams, new players. So I took the same analogy. Me and you. I mean, there's a new version, for example, of Ansible or whatever you do with security, or you always need to learn. You always, and you wrote a few books yourself, and you have a fourth edition, fifth edition, sixth edition. It always changed. And this is the resemblance that I see in basketball and sports, adapting to change.
Wow, I really like you say like what I should know in 4 months in advance. It-
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, look at the world today. Look at the documentation, all the documentation projects. Look at Kubernetes. You mentioned Kubernetes 10 years. If you looked on the CNCF website, you can download the first Kubernetes version and see how it works. So it's something that you can place. Look at Kubernetes, how they change each version layer on top of another. So we always learn.
Absolutely. And if I remember correctly, there are like 3 releases every year about Kubernetes. If I remember correctly, we're gonna have a 3 release every year about Kubernetes, and there is a new one upcoming.
Yes, yes. So yes, I think the cadence that they change is super important for the community. Because imagine production upgrading big thousands of Kubernetes clusters is not an easy task. So this change will help a lot. Definitely.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing this wide perspective of yourself. I also had a lot of fun, especially in email service provider. So I know the hustle and bustle, and most of the people don't know how much complicated is actually running a mail server, because you need to deal with a lot of interesting things underneath. But why do you like technology?
I always loved what's going on. I love behind the scenes. It's the same with which is my second passion. For example, cooking. Right, when you eat something, there's a lot of flavor, and I think the best is like, okay, how do you created this dish? I mean, you're Italian. There's a lot of amazing Italian food, right? So there's from the pasta and the spaghetti, and how do you create it, and how do you create the sauce? So I always loved what's happening behind the scenes, and in technology. I just fell in love with we use technology all the time, but what's happening? I think the Envision story where I learned how do you send an email took me a very big path. And, in technology, many of the things we do, we don't always feel that it's work because we're curious and always need something to think. For example, you can say quantum computing, you can say AI. There's so many things today that you see, and you always try to explore, and you see the world change. And you see today, look at the most wealthy companies. They're all in the tech industry. Everybody's using technology to make their life easier. Look about what happened with Apple now. They want to have AI inside the phone. Or look what's happening with cars, autonomous driving. Look at Tesla, for example. You have over-the-air updates for cars. Who would imagine you'll update a software in your car and you'll have more features? So imagine you have a car and you see, you can hear the birds. But imagine you have a car and suddenly they do a refresh of a version. Now you have more features. Now you have more cameras, and now you can connect from remote. You can put the air conditioner on before you come to the car. So you see technology more and more, and for me, this passion actually grows. So it's like, I think it's behind the scenes and being a tech savvy, and I'm working in the industry for a long time, so I'm lucky enough to see the circle. And I think living in Israel is, I'm fortunate that a lot of the high tech industry is actually coming from here. So you have friends everywhere, and you have meetups everywhere, and they're always thrilled about technology. And now I'm happy to be part of the ecosystems.
That's so great. I mean, being part of an ecosystem is one of the things that is more important for me. This huge sense of community and sense of belonging. Even when I'm travel, I can go to the other part of the world and somebody recognizes the same technology that is solving the problem. For me, is incredible. And this is like mind blowing because I had the opportunity to connect with people in India, people in the US, people in Europe, and we all are people, and we work with the same, like a big project that is like a sharing every day. And I remember that I had some contact, some friend of mine is in Australia, and usually we share each other some feedback about is a very skilled technical writer. So it's great because we can share the same passion with the same technology, and we are working basically in different time zones. That is very interesting.
No, it's even this conversation. We're using high-end production-grade recording equipment just online. Think about that.
Yeah, we are. If you think about, I was thinking that we live in very interesting time compared to our parents because there was so much difficulties to travel, to change your currency, change your language, and now we are, as a human being, we are like a global citizen.
Yeah, it's important if it's good or bad, because I traveled from one year in South America, right? And there wasn't too much technology to go to a coffee shop and send an email. So, and now I used to talk to a lot of people and say, hey, listen, how do I go to that way? I need to learn some Spanish. And I talked to people and they showed me many places. And now with technology, maybe for some things it's not the best because you communicate less because you use technology. So you need to think about, all the aspects. Technology makes our life easier, but does it affect the way we communicate with each other? Because my trip to South America was amazing because I had to talk to people. I had to ask questions, I had to go into houses. If I would have technology only, maybe I wouldn't talk to so much people. I would use technology to make my life easier, but are we missing the communication? And this goes back to the community that if you look, we have a lot of open source community, GitHub, open source, but you have a lot of meetings. Look how many meetings you have. You have KubeCon, you have DevCon, you have ArgoCon, you have AWS, you have GTC. All those meetings, at the end, they want to put all those people together and share the information. And we learned a lot during the Corona. We can do everything remote, but we still need this personal touch of the community.
Absolutely. I know that you are the kind of person that you're a social animal, you like stay with people, you like to learn from each other a lot. Is it correct? And I know that you also do some reciprocity. You're very professional, you upskill yourself and you're doing something for the community as well. Am I right?
Yes, actually, yes, we're doing a lot for the community, and there's some even open source project that we thought, or I thought, to bring up because there's so many, projects out there. And being in top of a community, you can call it the CNCF community, you can call it other communities, but being a part of it and hearing. And I think it's helpful to be in different communities because KubeCon is one community, which is amazing, but it's important to listen to more communities because you hear different thoughts and sometimes it's even different people. And sometimes they even go to hardware or server communities where it's a whole different process. So once you expose yourself to different communities or different aspects of technology, I think there you can even have a broader picture of how everything at the end connects. And I think hearing more and more opinions are super, super important in the community world today. By the way, even yourself, you're in the automation community, so you can take your knowledge and then say, hey, wait a minute, I work with the AI community. Does it mix? Or wait a minute, I'm doing something else. So I think, and I think you're doing a great job in your community, pushing forward and being exposed. So I think it's amazing what you do as well in the community world.
Yes, I really like to share, especially with young talent. At the moment, I'm actually mentoring one guy from my university because I like to give back what I learned. And I mean, it's very nice because I can see myself a few years ago in the type of question that he was asking. Especially nowadays, young talent, they need somebody to work hand to hand just for express themselves, because it's so difficult to get lost in, especially in this big world, and there's so many opportunity, especially for a young talent. Shall I go for a small startup and learn more by being side to side? And we all know that a startup goes fast, but or shall I go for a big established corporate world? I think that we all need to reflect ourselves. But I know that you also work with young talents. Am I right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I mean, we work a lot. Once a lot of the prospect that I work, and even in my company, you have a lot of young talents that are coming from universities or coming from uh, Ministry of Defense, and they start working. So you always in this field, you have those young upbringings that are very enthusiastic. They learn some stuff, but now how do they share this environment or knowledge in production environment? So they have a lot of ideas, but how can you say, hey, wait a minute, let's see you working together. And I think, and this is what's fun about technology, you see all age groups. But yes, I did mentor some young people how to start, how to have even communication skills, personal communication skills, and how to better think when you develop a product. Because at the end, you need to represent and sell a lot of the technical things that you're doing, which is important as well. And how to find information, how to spend time, and don't forget the work-life balance is super, super important because a lot of the kids say, I'll work till 1 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, wait a minute, live, don't get burned out, which is super important as well for young people who are very enthusiastic. Say, hey, you got to live, you got to do your stuff, eat well, sports, it's part of being successful because the body cannot work without the mind. So a Matrix quote.
What?
No, it's a quote from Matrix. The body cannot work without the mind.
Oh, nice. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I was give to my mentee the same advice. Like, it's very important if you maintain also hobbies and going out, because there is no point of being like work hard just for the sake of doing, like, so it's very important. So how do you upskill yourself? How the basketball became the professional that you are here?
Yeah. So in terms of how do I upskill myself is first, I mean, if the question is if how do I acquire new knowledge,
Yeah, also on
is
day to day, as we live in this constantly updated world, I think that it's more important than ever having choosing the right channel.
no, definitely. So um, I think one of the things I have some Google alerts that I added to my email that every time there's a subject, I can get an email of information. This is one thing at least to be refreshed. I do spend um, every day I spend a little bit even on LinkedIn. I just scroll down and see what people write, what people do, and I see a lot of technologies represented there as well. I follow a lot of the startup scene, and in my role, I'm because I'm working more in the AI field. I do read a lot of information and talk to if it's customers or if it's colleagues. Of, hey, what do you think about this new, let's say, LLM model? What do you think about the new, let's say, GPU hardware? What do you think about it? So you always, and the thing is, you need some time to search for information. Not every time the information will find you. So, and it goes back, Luca, to the to being curious. To being curious and saying, hey, if you like, if not, you will read this extra things. And I think asking questions. I think the art of asking questions is super important. And I think it's a muscle that people do. The amount of information you can get, Luca, for only asking questions, simple questions with people. Hey, how do you do this? Oh, that's interesting. How do you solve that? What do you think about if you had this technology, will it help you? And in 10 minutes, when you only ask questions, you'll see so much information. And I think many people miss this tool of asking questions because you can get so much data and so much inspiring ideas only from asking questions. So this is the circle that I use today for knowledge.
So asking questions seems your superpower, and I really like I really like this. But I'm really interested on the AI part because I know that you are one of the experts of AI. You start early on. I remember that we were chatting together, and you were saying to me that you were very upfront on the AI just years ago, and now is super trendy and is the real moment.
Yes, no, definitely. I think AI, when I start working with AI, and by the way, the crazy thing about AI today, people are it's emerging technology that make people learn and learn. If you take LLMs, for example, large language models, look on ChatGPT, look on all the other models, and suddenly people are trying to do new stuff with the model, and it's changing a lot. So people, you cannot search for information like there's no if you Google how about LLM, there is knowledge, but people are creating new and new data and knowledge around it because it's a very new technology. So you see the trends of AI, you see the trend of hardware, you see the trend how people work, but people are trying to reimagine, reinforce themselves to something new with AI. And now because AI is very, once GPT was released, all the people understood, oh, this is AI. Okay. And maybe something is machine learning, maybe it's not AI, right? But it was easy to explain to people what AI is doing. And now what I see in the field is people think, wait a minute, if a computer can do one, two, three, four, maybe it can help me be more successful, maybe it can save time. Many people are mixing between AI and technology or just computers, but we see a lot of ideas coming to make our life easier. And I think AI is I think it's just the beginning, what we're seeing now. It's just the beginning.
Oh, I definitely agree. I think that we'll just see the beginning because is in a way, if we like project in the future, I think that we're gonna interact with our computer in more like a natural way. You can see this trend by our assistant. I mean, Siri, Google, Alexa enter in our life, and now we are part of this. And with generative AI, things are getting more fluent, more natural. But I see, for example, like a system administrator, I see is one of the fields that can be become more easy because computers were difficult in the past, but now think about with this new technology. Hi, how can I fix this problem? How can I solve the other? Especially information retrieval is one use case that is a lot of companies are experimenting on this, and it's
Yeah.
interesting because I had a lot of conversation about AI, different industry, different professional, and everybody is experimenting. Everybody agree that nowadays the data is gold, so
Yeah.
the you can't develop a good AI ecosystem without having great quality data.
Yeah,
And
it's interesting you mentioned the data. One small note, I know I interrupted you for 1 second. many companies are saying, wait a minute, if you want this data, maybe you need to pay. Think about it. AI is searching for data, and everybody would say, hey, you want this data? Pay us a little bit of money or pay something, and you will then open the data, which is very interesting. I think data is gold.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw some analysis that say that data is the new oil.
Exactly.
And it's very nice for me to talk with different type of professional. Everything is behind the scene because I'm privileged because I have a friend all around the world, and everybody. I'm thinking the other day I was planning talking with a friend of mine that is working in the industry of food delivery, like the one that send to your home like a grocery, and this company is delivering more than 1 million boxes every day.
Wow.
So you can imagine the logistic behind, and they are using AI to get this process better. Another company is working more on urban mobility, electric scooter, and is another things that we can see the improvement, how they're gonna charge the battery, how they optimize the path, and so on and so forth.
Oh, definitely.
Do you have some interesting use case for our audience?
Yeah, actually, I do have a few. If you look on, let's say, even transportation, for example, transportation is a big thing. And actually, one of the biggest airports in Europe added AI, and they just changed the way the airplanes wait in queue, and they saved so much fuel. It was millions of dollars only the way till one plane will leave and the other plane will. Only that because plane on the ground is very expensive in terms of real estate as well. So they had an AI system saying, wait a minute, if we can improve the way the plane on ground work, and they saved millions. And by the way, it's not only saving millions of dollars, less fuels means a greener world. So imagine they saved money, they made the world a little bit greener, and this is just one example of using AI on that. And second is around if you look about, let's say, FedEx. I know FedEx did a lot of work how to deliver and save fuel as well as one example. How to make it, and Amazon today and all the big companies, all the big retailers are using a lot of AI for shipments and stuff like that. And I think if you look on medical, using AI in medical terms, if that computer can help in an operation, if it can help to save lives. Now, this is something else. We're talking about technology, it's fun, but if it saves lives, and if it can see something that maybe the doctor missed. So imagine you're going to the hospital and the doctor gives you a subscription, and the computer says, wait a minute, that this subscription is not good because he's allergic to something. Like a combination of those two pills together can create a reaction. Now it's hard for to make a lot of assumptions out of this, and I think using AI for medical terms and DNA scanning and making a lot of that, I think AlphaFold made an amazing thing with RNA, and I think this is like the big thing. If we can save lives and make us live longer, then suddenly it's a different approach.
Yeah, I think the healthcare is one very interesting use case of AI. But let me clarify. In my vision, is just a way of speeding up the way how we get the final result. For example, we got some sampling in the studio, and maybe AI can help like to do some screening or just to discriminate what could be good or bad. But in the final stage, there should be always a doctor that double check and take the final decision. Because I think in the end of the day, one of the main concern is about who is responsible if a car kill a children. Is responsible the driver or is responsible the car manufacturer? Because I think
I'll tell you another thing on that, actually. Imagine you have AI inside a car, and suddenly two cars, a bus with AI and a car with AI, suddenly there's a collision, and they both know that they cannot escape. Will the AI say, hey, I want to save as many lives as possible, so I'll make the only one car pull off the cliff because I can save the bus? So it's a question, will people write code of saving lives saying, okay, make a decision that maybe the driver will be hurt, but you're going to save the bus. So imagine how much things you have there. And again, what you said is very true about how much can we trust AI? Do I still need a doctor in the end? Do I want something to interfere? So I totally agree. We still need, I think. But it's funny, I asked somebody from the young generation. He said, no, I don't need a doctor. If the AI model is trained enough, why do I need a doctor? I trust them. So I asked, okay, if the computer says I'm going to cut your arm because you have a problem, will you cut your arm, or you still want to talk to the doctor? So some of the young generation said, you know what, if the computer will tell me, or the LLM, or not LLM, but if the model will be trained enough, maybe in 5 years' time, maybe I can listen directly to the model.
It's very interesting how they ended up in that decision, because probably in their life they had some experience with computer, that computer were always right. So they have assumption that the computer is taking the best decision for yourself. However, sometimes we always experience some like easy search on search engine, and we are frustrated. We are not finding what we are searching for, or maybe there is some situation that as human we need to talk to each other and thinking about also some complex situation like legal litigation or this kind of stuff. It's not easy sometimes, the situation, and as human we need to work together. So I still believe that the human should be like on a driver's seat, and we should decide which direction we're gonna take.
Well, yeah, it's a good call, because I mean, I think autonomous driving is today it's very, very advanced. I was lucky enough to work with some of the autonomous driving companies, the biggest companies in the world, and I saw how technology emerged. And imagine you have so much cameras, and the computer does not drink, does not text, is not tired, and it can even assume a distance, braking distance, and so much information that as a driver I cannot see. But there is feelings, you're like, and today you have some tests of autonomous vehicles driving in the States, for example, or even delivering pizza. And imagine a computer, a traffic light and the car and traffic all will be connected. So it will even be in all the cars will talk to each other. Suddenly you have even space between cars. So yeah, it will be very interesting. And again, it's all about, the feeling about trust. But today the technology, I think, will get there.
Wow, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. I really would like to see a city more like a holistic place, where we all are interconnected and we all work as a community, not only like individual try to try to be the first in every situation. And how do you see the world in 2050?
Wow, 2050. What I think will happen is there's two things. We'll see much more technology being closer to us. For example, it will be more on the phone, more in the house, more. I think personal assistance will be something that smart home will be much smarter. I think a lot of automation around. Let's start with the house about everyday living. No milk, the fridge will order milk for you automatically. You don't even need to touch a lot of those things will be automatic. A lot of the things will be automated, I think for us. I think a lot of security concern will be how to use all this technology in a secured way. Because imagine if now there's a security breach, it affects you much more, right? And I think with all the technology rising of, the automation, I think there will still be, I'm just worried people will be more, I don't know if alone, but more talking to technology and less talking to people, because it will be, imagine you have holograms and you have so much things to interact with people. But I hope it won't affect, the young generation. But I think if I summarize, I think we'll see a lot of AI in our everyday world. I'll start with something even close to us: cars, smart homes, personal assistants. Um, this is the first thing that I see that I think will make a very big impact. Everybody will have his own bots around him.
Okay, that's interesting. So having like a personal concierge, But
Yeah, I
but
think
but
yeah.
go ahead.
No, the last thing is I think small robots because today you have robot that cleans the house, right?
Mhm.
I think in the future you might have robots that will be in your house. Maybe they can cook, maybe they can clean, maybe they can be do things in the house to operate. You know?
Finally, yeah, I don't want I don't want AI to take off like the boring things. Give me some AI that I can really rely on.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is the triangle, and again, it will be a very interesting future.
That would be
Definitely.
interesting to see like a domotics that will be able to miniaturize and be able to becoming affordable to everybody. It's very
Yeah.
interesting because I read the other day that like having hot shower was not forgiven. Was is a thing that was giving us so 100 years ago only kings having hot shower, and now is a luxury that we can enjoy all together. So think about the same way of some technology that only the top 1% of the world have nowadays will become accessible to everybody.
No, definitely. I mean, I travel a lot around the world, and I'm seeing how technology, emerge, and I agree. And I think what you're saying is true. Is taking the technology, the 1% of the hot shower, and I hope we can see it. We can see it more.
Great. This is so good. And I know that you are also outspoken. You also give some lecture in the university. Am I right?
Yeah, actually, I volunteer to give some. It's called AI behind the scenes. It's a lecture about. Okay, we talked about large language models, but before, what's the history? Why it's happening now, and why it didn't happen 50 years ago? Why it didn't happen 30 years ago? So, and I touch about the history and what makes this available today. And yeah, it's fun to volunteer and give a little bit of yourself, as you mentioned that you do with your students. It's fun to give like every once in a while. It's very refreshing.
Great. It's so nice having this sense of reciprocity, especially in a community space like this. And I have only one more question for you. What's your
Yeah.
favorite book?
Wow, it changes a lot. I can tell you that one of the books I read lately really opened my mind. It's called The Rework. And this book is, again, I don't want to name drop it, but it's one of very famous founders of one of the big startups. And what's interesting about the book Rework, first of all, the way it's set, it tells you, listen, we know you work in technology, but let's think a minute about what's really important. Like, is being workaholic, is it good or bad? Or is learning from mistake overrated? I mean, how can I say I learned from mistake? Because all time the challenge is always new. This is just one example, right? You can say, hey, learn from mistakes, but yeah, but I didn't have the same challenge yesterday. So it's always so the way the books is built, especially for us people working in the tech industry, and because he's a founder of companies, when you read it, it makes you think a lot of wait a minute, is this meeting important? Is my time valuable? Wait, am I doing the right thing? Am I focusing about the right thing? Or wait a minute, is staying in the office, am I a hero staying in the office till late? Or maybe I'm just hurting myself. But it makes you think. And once you read a book and after the book, you're like, wait a minute, that's interesting because it reflects about your life. I really recommend that. And maybe, Luca, maybe next birthday I'll send you this book as a present.
It will be so great of you. That's cool. It sounds very interesting. So,
So,
thank you so much for your time. We learn a lot and we touch a different type of technology. I Let me put some label. We discuss about generative AI, cloud computing, quantum computing. We didn't mention blockchain. Oh, are you working in blockchain?
no, I think blockchain. I think it was a very big promise. The blockchain, it is something, but I think we see it a little bit less. And by the way, I think it has to do with quantum computing. There's a lot of things about security in quantum and breaking the SHA to 256. So there's a lot of crazy things going on there.
That's interesting, and I really like how you put everything together. How we move from the Commodore to a wonderful, incredible system worldwide. And it's very nice you give us some prediction for 2050. Let's see if we are able to reach out net zero and live peacefully all together. Thank you so much for your time, and
And
have
thank
a
you.
good rest of the
Thank you for
day.
having me. Bye
Cheers.
bye. Thank you, Luca.
Bye.
Bye bye.